You've taken your GMAT, you've prepared your applications. Have you started to think about who you might be sitting next to in the MBA classroom? No doubt there will be bankers, there will be consultants, there will be engineers. But what about opera singers? The world's top business schools, we talk about diversity, and there is a place for everybody. So who will be sitting next to you? Shelley Min, delighted to welcome. Shelley studied vocal performance at the University of Minnesota, enjoyed a very successful opera career across coasts internationally, and then decided to go to business school. And she graduated from Columbia last year, 2024, and is now a senior consultant at Deloitte. Shelley, I don't get to meet many MBA graduates like you every day. It's a delight to have you with us at Centre Court. I just gave a brief summary, but tell us about that personal journey that led you to the MBA classroom at Columbia.
Well, I had been in opera for 10 years, and many of those years are spent as a young artist. And a young artist is a way for opera companies to have you cover and do supporting roles and do chorus and pay you very, very little. And so and they like to keep you there for a long time. It's good for the business. And I understand that now. But at the time, I was working really hard to start to get main stage and lead roles. And when I finally got those, and I was exhausted, and I took a look at my IRA account, and then COVID hit. And I saw all of those main stage contracts go away. And I just kind of looked at everything, and I was seeing the things that I was giving up to do the opera, and it was outweighing the love at that point. And I knew academically I was okay from before when I was in school, and so I decided that I would give it a shot. I had friends and family members in my life that said you should try consulting. And from my time in opera, I had kind of two ways I could have gone with my master's program. I did my master's at University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and I could have also gone to Manus. And I went the more frugal Minnesotan route, and I should have gone with the brand. I've learned now, you go with the brand, you go with the recognizable thing. And so I knew I was going to go, if I was going to do it, I had to go to one of the top 10. So that's part of the decision process. And that's when I started applying.
I guess grad school, but business school in particular, an inflection point in your life. Now, whether it's external factors like the pandemic
Yeah.
fundamentally disrupted yours and many other industries and businesses. Um, as you then tried to crunch the numbers, did you feel that there was a significant opportunity cost, as you tried
Oh,
to
yeah.
investment you were making?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a price tag on there. And I was fortunate enough to get some scholarship, but it's still a price tag. And it's something that I was betting on myself. And that at the end of the day, that's what I went with, was that I knew that I was a hustler from my time in opera. I knew that I was going to make it work, and I trusted myself that I would come through for myself.
The consultants and the bankers that you mentioned no doubt have both professional support networks and others in their circle that maybe have been to business school, or certainly they're traditional feeders to business school. As you looked around in the world of opera, were there many people that you could talk to for advice?
No. But there was one girl who was singing with me at Marble Collegiate in New York, a professional choral group, who was at Columbia at the time, who was an opera singer as well. And so I had conversations with her. She ended up actually writing like a little referral for me. So I was lucky enough to have her. There was, actually, now that I think about it, there was another opera singer who was at Stanford. And then there was also Dan Kempson, and I'm still in touch with Dan Kempson, and he was also a Fortuna guy. And he talked me through a lot of panicked moments during recruiting. So
I
I
remember
really
Dan
appreciate him.
very modest about Grammy nominations, but
Oh,
very
yeah.
interested in the industry, the music industry, and where business school, might take that. So swapping musical scores for balance sheets. Do you remember your first day at Columbia and some sense of perhaps not imposter syndrome, but
Oh, yeah.
where am
Imposter syndrome.
I?
Yeah, no, and I think we all feel that. Like, I had many conversations with that friend who was at Marvel, that the reason that she was at Marvel, because she was a year ahead of me, was that she was having such cognitive dissonance about being in business school. And I definitely felt that as well. It's a completely different environment. The people are a lot different than you find with artists too. Artists are sort of rewarded for being very honest and very vulnerable and transparent. And I think in the corporate world you learn to not be so honest and transparent all the time. So that took some getting used to. But yeah.
So is there an optimal combination, the transparency, the authenticity of who you are, but that you can speak the language of business, you can crunch the numbers. Did you feel as you were going through the problem, beyond perhaps technical skills that you were learning, but that you also learning skills that would serve you very well in the next steps of your career?
Yeah. I think the skills that have served me the best are being able to read the room, the soft skills, and the hustle. You have to be able to hustle. It's especially in consulting, nothing's guaranteed. You're trying to get on projects. You are trying to prove that you are able to help your whole firm go to the market. And then you need to be able to read your clients. You need to be able to read even your team. You have to be able to read through the lines. There's all sorts of things going on that are unspoken that you have to be able to see. And I think that is where an artist excels, where maybe somebody who's more academically gifted or more of an engineering brain, perhaps they don't see those things. And I've seen it firsthand. It's a different way of looking at the world, I think.
Columbia, even the new logo for the school, I don't know if it says, the heart of business, but obviously plays on the context of New York business undoubtedly, but also the heart of the creative industries and from the Met and plenty of opera on your doorstep. Is there something distinct to Columbia in terms of hustle, a New York way of looking at business?
Yeah, I would say for the people thinking about Columbia, it's a very independent school. When you come to a big city like New York, it's like you really feel it. And talking to the international students there, it's like you're on your own. Like you're in this giant city. There's all this hustle and bustle. Everybody's fighting for that best job, and the school is there to support you, but it's also a school that people pick because they want to have their own experience. It's not like Duke where you're going to go and everybody's going to live in the same building and everybody's going to know each other and all of the things that go along with that. You are going to have to find your people. It will take effort to find your place in the school. But if you do it, it will be amazing. But it's different than some of the smaller programs.
I remember taking classes at Uris Hall on the main Columbia campus, but still it was like this 1930s throwback. It was more like a car park than a business
Yeah.
school. Presumably with Manhattanville, I was thinking about how does that then change that experience? Because you have a great guest speaker and you can hang around with each other. In Uris Hall, you just wanted to run away and go be distracted by the city. Does Manhattanville really make a difference, do you think, to the MBA
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah. It's so far up. I mean, the regular campus is very far up too, but it's what, 130th Street. And once you're up there, you don't really want to leave because most people aren't living necessarily up in Harlem. You know, they want to live in Chelsea and West Village and Hudson Yards and all of these different places. So once you're up there, you stay and you chat and you go to see the guest speakers and you stay for the lunch and learns. You are doing all of your recruiting on campus. Everything that you need is right there. So I think the new campus brought people closer together for sure.
Okay. From libretto to data sufficiency and just being ready for a core curriculum, which is still going to require a level of, quant and analytics. What was the experience of that core course? And then when you started to personalize, perhaps with more electives, was there a shift?
Oh yeah. Oh, the core killed me. I mean, it's also that everyone should know. You should be warned. You're going to be recruiting if you're doing consulting or banking at the same time that you're going through core. So you have class, I don't, it's 9 a.m. to sometimes like 9 p.m. that you're on campus and you're recruiting and you're doing accounting and you're doing corporate finance and you're doing like, and there were so many acronyms and things I had never heard before. It was like, it was like for somebody who's never read music before, it was like learning how to read music for the first time. So I love my learning team, and you'll have a learning team of 4 people that help you. And they helped me a lot. And they have not counselors, but tutors that you can get, and they're free while you're in the core, as many hours as you need, and there are all the resources there for you to succeed. So it was overwhelming in terms of time and energy and the pressure of that first semester, but they don't allow you to not succeed. There's too many tools for you to not succeed.
There's a theory, whether it's refined, that if something comes too easily to you, you almost dismiss it or you take it for granted. When something's really hard, and not just going to the moon, it sticks with you. So as you think about, that core and how tough it was, do you think, nevertheless, that the enduring legacy, these are concepts and ideas that have really stuck with you?
Yes. Yes. And because I was doing the consulting, recruiting at the same time, I was casing. And so you're constantly enforcing all of the things that you are learning in your classes and seeing them play out in a real case. And then, of course, Columbia does the case method partially. And so you're reading real cases to apply all of the knowledge that you're learning. So I definitely feel like it was reinforced a lot. But yes, it's traumatized into my brain, definitely.
You had a PA role reflecting on the future of work, and through all of this, as you said, even in that first year, you're already anticipating a summer internship and next steps. How does that actually work? The school supports you, there's this extraordinary network. Preparing that internship, is that the focus? And then we'll think about what might come next. What are the different steps?
I'd say recruiting, keeping you have a few options, and you usually have a favorite. And then for me, it became very apparent it was going to be Deloitte because I was interested in human capital. Like as soon as I found human capital, I knew that that's like the organizational change aspect of it was very interesting to me, and I got really excited. So everything shifted then. And then when you go to the internship, I think most of the time you're hoping it's going to work out. You kind of have to put all of your eggs in that basket. I think for some people they did walk away. That wasn't something that I considered. And then from there on, kind of after you finish your internship, if you got your return offer, it's really an exploration. And the great thing is, there's grade non-disclosure. So even if you think you're going to be terrible in a class, you're still going to take it because there's no downside. Nobody's ever going to know, even if you're bad at it. So I think they encourage curiosity. And I think from there on out, that second year, once you have your internship and like you have that return offer in hand, you have full-time employment when you're going to be done. It's just fun. And it's just an exploration.
Mhm. Curiosity. I mean, when Columbia ranked at number one in the Financial Times last year, and a big part is salaries after the program and career progression. Some of the more intangible aspects of the program, but things perhaps that you learned about yourself, a greater level of self-confidence. When you hold up that mirror, what are some of the things that you think that you've got out of the program that aren't captured in that financial ROI?
I think it all goes to the connections you make and the things that you learn from other people. It is a very international program. It's 50% international, and just the people that you meet and the different parts of people went with people from, Africa, South America, so many trips to Japan. There's all of these places that people went and learned about other cultures, and the perspectives that people are bringing into the classroom. It really broadens your worldview. My worldview shifted. I had been to Europe a number of times. The only other place that I had been to that was international that had broadened my horizons was Madagascar. But the more you travel, the more you meet people, the more that you see that the world is not full Western, which is when you live in the United States, you very quickly think that the whole world is just like the United States because that's all you see on TV and that's all that ever comes into your echo chamber. But I definitely feel like I know a lot more about the world from being in the program. And I think that helps when you're creating these business cases and making these recommendations, that you have a holistic view of the world rather than a Western-centric view.
Right, right. So going back to that first day, um, one piece of advice that you wish somebody had given you before you started this adventure, what would it be?
Relax. uh, I mean, take it seriously. Like you're there, at least this is how I thought of it. It's like I'm there to get a job. And so maybe relax once you get a job, but also don't stress yourself out so much in the process that you're not having a little bit of fun. And then once you get the job, then just explore, be curious, learn as much as you can. That's what I would say.
With Center Court, we have viewers perhaps from Madagascar, certainly from Japan, no doubt from Minnesota, so from all over the world. Thinking about taking a step that you've already taken, and it's a big leap of faith. So, what is your advice to them as they consider an MBA, perhaps considering Columbia Business School in particular?
My advice to them, um, I don't want to say go for it because there are things that you have to consider before you make this decision. What I will say is don't let yourself have regrets. If you want to do an MBA and you want to get to the end of your life and be like, I'm so glad that I gave myself those 2 years to really explore and understand myself while I wasn't working. There's nothing like that time, that kind of unshackled time from working to explore yourself and learn about yourself and meet people and see the whole world. I wouldn't put the dollar sign above that time. So yes, it's an investment, and yes, you're betting on yourself, but you'll learn so much about yourself that it will be worth it.
I've been hoping to have this interview now for 6 months because I think with Center Court, to actually be able to hear the pause when someone thinks about and shares their response. So many people, business school, everybody else is doing it, and it's almost, that there's a drive. But to encourage our viewers, to really think deeply about this next step and yet do it with the conviction that you have the success that you're now enjoying. For us to be able to capture that with you is, it's a real gift. So Shelley, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us for Center Court.